Abigail's Farm. Today we're going to be making cloth stuffed pumpkins. You may have seen these in home decor magazines and at Michael's and all over the place. Some of them come with pretty hefty price tags that are made out of wool and all sorts of other neat plaid wools. I'm not going to be making wool ones, but if you would like to make a wool one for a lot less money than what you see them in the stores, go to Goodwill or a thrift store and buy yourself a wool plaid or whatever herringbone print, whatever kind of wool you like, skirt, and recycle that fabric. The larger the skirt, the more fabric you're going to get. And you want to look for ones that don't have, that aren't pleated, like just a simple elastic waist usually, or waistband, but one that has a lot of fabric in it. That's going to get you a lot of fabric. You can make more than one pumpkin, and it's going to be a lot cheaper than what you find in the stores. Today I'm going to be making pumpkins out of some vintage fabrics I have. This is a feedsack fabric, and this was, I think, probably from the 50s or 60s. It's just a printed cotton. And you know, my kitchen is pink and white, and so I thought these would be a cute combination. I'm also going to do a smaller one using the same pink and blue feed sack that I like. And I had some chenille pieces that also have the same colors in them, so I'm going to use those. I will provide the pattern for you in the description box. It's a link, and for both the big and the small one. And these are very simple, and you can even do this by hand. And each pumpkin requires 6 pieces. So I'm going to just sew these together, and we're going to look at the pumpkin. I'm using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And what you want to do is you want to just go around and you're going to do, however you want to do it. I'm doing every other one because I am doing more than one print. I'm just sewing pumpkin petal. It looks like a petal to petal here. And when I get back here to the original ones, going to sew those two together. So see, it's turning into like a little inside out pumpkin is what we got. And I've started the top about 1 inch down on each one. It's going to give me room to, we're going to cinch that part up anyway. Give me room to stuff it and turn it inside out. And when I get down here at the bottom, I'm just going to sew straight across on that last one just to sort of give it a little bit of a flatter bottom. Alright, now you could do zigzag if you wanted to for a little bit more strength, but and what we end up with is sort of like a little, reminds me of like one of those ice pack things they used to give you in the nurse's office in school. So that's the first one. Let's get the second one done, and then we'll move over to the table and we will start stuffing it. Pattern that I will scan, and I'll make that available for the large size, the small size, and the leaf that I'll be doing here. So you're going to need some fiberfill stuffing or wool stuffing or whatever you want to use. And you're going to need some sort of felt, or I have these pre-cut and they're sort of like embossed felt leaves. I got the whole package. I think I got it off eBay. Check eBay, check Etsy, check Amazon, and wherever else, Joann's probably. But they're just pre-cut felt leaves, and they have like embossed stems on them. But I've provided a pattern if you want to cut your own from, and I almost did that because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use green. But this color that I have sort of is like a bluish green, and it almost matches the green leaf that's in the floral pattern, so I'm going to stick with those. You also might want some rickrack. I have, we're going to be simulating the little vines that hang off of a pumpkin. I'm going to be using the gross grain ribbon as the stem. So you could use felt or you could use ribbon, whatever. I have some of that, so I'm going to put that over there. And you're going to need a needle and thread. So first of all, let's stuff these pumpkins. And you want to do it loosely because we're going to be sort of drawing up on each section of the pumpkin to give it more definition. You have to remember that we're going to cinch it up, so you won't want to stuff it really tight. You want to make it more loose. Finish stuffing. I'm just going to take my needle and thread and if you remember, we started about a 1/2 inch down. So first thing I want to do is I want to sew those little parts up. That was just to give us more of an opening for stuffing here. I'm just sort of folding those edges under, and as I do it, it's tightening up my pumpkin. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and do half of them and sew them all the way to the top. Then you'd only have to do this on half of the petals. If you sew all the way to the top, you're not going to hardly have any opening at all to turn them inside out and stuff them. So that's the reason why we went ahead and left the top of each pumpkin section or petal or whatever you want to call it. We started 1 inch down so we would have more of a openings. Now we have the last one here. And you see as every time I do it, it draws it up. Now before I sew that last one, I want to be able to put some more stuffing in here. And it doesn't leave me much room. Just use my fingertips here. Stuffing it, just mold it. Remember that we're going to be drawing it in on each of these petal parts. Work for it. That's why we don't want to sew it closed yet until we think we have it how we want it here. But I'm afraid it's getting too, you don't want it to be too packed. So I'm going to go ahead and go on over and sew this last petal shut here. You can use yarn to do your separations or ribbon. I'm going to attempt to use yarn. Let's see how it goes. We can always undo it and use the ribbon, or you can cover up the yarn with ribbon if you want a thicker separation. So let's see what we got here. Inside and come out the center bottom here. So through our hole, I'm just going to stick my needle down through and come out through bottom center there. So my knot is in the inside. Alright, now I want to just follow that line. And I'm going to make it a stitch through this, the very top. And I'm going to pull it tight and make a stitch. Don't worry about the way it looks. We're going to finish that when we get later. Okay, so then I'm going to go straight across this way, down that separation. And go back up to the middle. I'm going to pull this, and now I'm going to do another stitch. Hold it tight while you're doing the stitch here. Okay, then go from there. I'm going to go all around the next separation. So I'm going to do a good stitch here. Do another stitch just to hold it. Okay, I'm not going to cut it right yet because I want to make sure there's nothing that I need to go around and redo here. Okay, I want to mold, sort of, just mold it with your hands. Just, you know, look at it and see what you think. And I'm going to sort of squish it up. There we go. That looks good. Alright, now I don't want to close my hole up yet because I want to make my stem. So how I'm just going to take a piece of ribbon and just in case you want to know, ribbon's 5 inches long. I'm going to bend it in half. Take my needle and thread, and first of all I'm just going to sew the ends of that ribbon closed, and then I'm going to tuck that down into that open hole, and I'm just going to sew the hole closed by sewing through the grosgrain ribbon that I'm using for the stem just so it's secure. I'm going to go ahead and snip my yarn off. I'm pretty sure I'm done with how I like how it looks. And I'm just going to go do a gathering stitch around it just so I can get that. Okay. Hole is closed up. Now I want to take the same needle and thread, my yarn, my little leaves that I've cut or that I have already done. And I'm just going to sew through my stem and through the leaf. Okay. And then I want a few pieces of, I'm just going to fold a piece in half, about 10 inches long, so it's like 5 inches because I can trim it later. And I have tied a knot just to give me something to sew through here. In the very center I've tied a knot. I'm just going to sew it through the stem under one of the leaves. And if you look real closely, you can see that little dot right there. That's the little stitch. So it just holds that leaf down and it covers up where I've done the little rickrack pieces. I'm just going to cut the rickrack where I think it looks good. I just want it off few, and I don't want it the same length. I want it different lengths, so just a little few pieces like that. And I'm going to come over here and do one stitch to also put this leaf down where I want it to stay. Alright, and then you can just sort of work with the pumpkin until you get the shape you want. And I'm going to go ahead and finish that other one, and then we'll look at the finished ones. And the pumpkins are finished, and you can see that you can mold it to be poofier or however you want to do it. If you wanted bigger, taller pumpkins, you could always make that pattern that I'm providing longer and bigger if you wanted to. You could make bigger ones. These, you can see these are like a medium, and they're not real big ones. So, and I like the flatter because I had them to go with this pink pumpkin here that I've had, and so I thought it would look really cute. You know, like some sort of a display. So those are the fabric pumpkins, and use your imagination on the different fabrics that you can use. The chenille turned out cute, and like I said, you can enlarge the pattern to make it bigger, and you can hand sew these or on the machine. So it's a real simple project that is fun to do. So thank you for joining us today.